Boom, we are on.
Nice.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Welcome everyone to the first Origen Talks. This is where we're gonna do a live Q&A. We will have a couple of regular guests, and then we will sometimes find a random person to bring in that has nothing to do with Origen whatsoever. And in this one, it's gonna be Drakos who is joining us. So welcome, thank you.
Thank you. I'm flattered that I have nothing to do with Origin. That's a
mean,
really appreciate that. Thank you.
I have to say that, from the start, so people don't get any wrong ideas, because it is kind of out of nowhere that you're sitting here. But we needed someone who can be a little bit less Origin biased. Otherwise, all our answers, especially related to all pro teams and these kind of things, and who's going to win between Origin and Fnatic, might be slightly Origin biased. So now we have you as the unbiased guest, and of course with us as well, xPeke and Guilhoto. I believe I'm pronouncing your last name perfectly now.
Just keep going.
Yeah, it's basically okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
of course you are.
Perfect. So for everyone who's going to tune in, obviously people are going to come in and out because we are doing this live. Ask your questions in chat. We will pick as many of them as we can. But while we get people in, people are going to be hosting the streams. You guys, of course, all tweeted, right, Drakos, Peke, and Guilhoto, that we are now live.
Dad.
And
Wait,
I actually
I didn't.
The
I
first
retweeted
comment,
your tweet.
the first comment, which is not really a question, but I want to read it out anyway. That Latvian guy asking or saying, "Hope this Q&A will be more exciting than Origin games."
Honestly, you don't even need me here. That Latvian guy is lighting you up in chat.
I love it. I love it. Actually, I have a question that's similar to one of the first ones we're getting, which is a question I've been thinking a lot about as a general manager, and I know a lot of the many thousands of people who watch xPeke stream are thinking. Now that you reached master tiers, you might be hardstock 0 LP master, or you like
I
declined already?
have reached master 4 times.
4 times.
Yeah, so I normally what I do is I get to master, I get 100 points, then I go to diamond 1, then I get back to master, then I go to diamond 1. So I'm between master and diamond 1.
So do
sadly.
you have the motivation to go pro?
Not enough. I cannot play that much. Like normally I play 3-4 hours, and if I'm already tilted if the game's going wrong, so it's impossible. I don't see myself actually playing.
So if something went wrong Saturday morning and Guilhoto called you and said, xPeke, we need you to, would you answer the call?
I mean that, yes, that I would do. That I would go, and I would actually try hard for my life, not to win.
But you can't, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's not registered as a sub,
he's
though,
he's
so-
hypothetical, of course.
But
I mean, you wouldn't call me either, you fucking mongo. You would call someone that is actually you would call someone that is actually good.
No,
we are
of
talking
course.
hypothetically here.
Yeah, of course I wouldn't call you. I need you to lose the Portugal-Spain matchup.
No, actually, I'm
can't
gonna
help
That's
you
a later
practice.
thing. That's a later thing.
Yeah.
So,
that's later.
one of the initial topics that we have to talk about is the All-Pro vote. So for everyone who doesn't know, basically each team, they get to gather the players with their manager, and they submit votes, and then the coach gets to submit votes. That's so you get 2 votes basically as a team, but obviously the manager with the players are not doing it together with the coach. So I don't actually remember what Guilhoto voted. I obviously don't know what Drakos voted. Pickett didn't get a vote, but in
Yep.
this case he will get a vote. So
Nice.
Drakos, you already did your Euphoria, and
Yeah.
I want to start with you. So we start completely unbiased on
Mhm.
your all-pro team. Who did you pick as your 3 top laners?
Whippo, Wonder, and Alfari in that order.
Wow.
Look, before I inevitably get flamed, I looked at Alfari's numbers. They're solid. He's the only person who's actually winning CS in the top lane consistently, and that's cool. He seems like he's doing a good job. He's consistently keeping his CS high, keeping his opponent CS low. But outside of lane phase, I'm not loving it. Whippo's doing crazy stuff to win his team the game, and he's not inting as much anymore. So Whippo had to go above
As
him.
much, yeah.
But look, man, I'll take a player who flips a coin and comes out, 70, 80% of the time over someone who never flips the coin.
Yeah, I just won't take it as the best in this role, and I'm not even gonna argue for Alfari. I was just surprised as well from Wunder's point of view, because obviously I can't vote Alfari, and I voted Wunder first.
So
above
why do
Weepo.
why did you vote for Wonder?
Because I think that Wunder is just, unlike Weepo, someone that you can always rely, and Weepo is not. And for me, that's way more important for you to be considered the best in your role. Like if I have to choose between those two, I will always choose for Wunder.
Yeah, but are you basing that on like historically, or are you basing that on this split? Because
I'm
historically,
also
I'd
I'm
be
also
inclined to agree with you.
yeah, and I'm also basing on the split. I think that Wunder had a lot of patches where he kind of like innovated top lane, and he was especially for example the Soraka where he was obviously the first. And I also think that both playing Jana and playing Aatrox more in the beginning of the split, he was always someone that no matter the pick and no matter how his lane phase would go, he would be someone that you could rely on. So it's also related to the split. It's not only historically. Where Weepo, yes, he had higher highs than Wunder this split, and he have way lower lows than Wunder as well. So it doesn't mean that you're right or I'm right. It's just I value consistency, and you value like I don't know, whatever you value. It's like just you basically
Whipple
value
was
like
good though.
how is it called?
Yeah,
It's
I
not,
think the thing explosiveness, playmaking, you can call it like you can say, yeah, it's high variance. Like I know what you're saying, but for me, like this split is different, right? This isn't like in the past, if last split I had voted for Blippo, I would say it was definitely like I'm just a fan of the guy who's willing to take big risks and make big plays. But I just think that he's so much more consistent this season. And when you're looking at the numbers, he has one less isolated death than Wonder, so he's died alone one less time. Usually that number was like twice as big. Blippo was the king of isolated deaths, but he's also got 11 solo kills to Wonder's one.
Yeah.
And some of that's Soraka, right?
And,
like the thing is just like
did you see jungle proximity with those numbers as well?
yeah, I did, and it's not that it's not that big. It's not that different.
not that
Jungle
sure.
proximity is not
actually not
significantly
sure.
different for
Because
any,
I don't
any
have
player.
I don't have access to those numbers. I do
Wait,
see
wait.
every single
So you-
time.
Wait. Also, a
Andre,
solo
I
kill.
just-
Hold on, a
every
solo kill
single time.
means no one else is around
Yeah.
or is involved in the kill. No one is in range to be involved with the kill. Even someone's body. The fact that it's a solo
okay,
kill.
I'm not talking. Okay, yeah, just keep going. I'm
So-
not talking about the solo kills aspect, you know.
I obviously assume
And obviously,
Andre.
obviously, solo kill is one thing, but if you go and gank level 3 and you force flash off the enemy top laner and then you solo kill, then it obviously does make a difference, you know.
So Andre, I assume you put Whippo second on your list.
Yeah, I put Whitple second. Yeah, of course.
Right. Okay. So there's obviously not a big difference.
I mean, yeah,
Peke,
of course.
on your top lane, top three.
Yeah, well, I would say like I would actually put Weepo first as well. Just even though like Wunder was always way better. I really like how Weepo is not scared to do things that look like he's trolling sometimes. Like he will just suddenly TP to another lane, even though it looks like he shouldn't do it, but he end up getting a kill and getting his team ahead. I just really like his playstyle. Like it kind of remind me a bit of Soas. Like Soas used to play and do weird things and not care about his lane as much. But yeah, I think I will say Weepo for this split as well.
Okay, I think that's fair. I mean, the guy's very impactful, which is pretty impressive.
And
Yeah.
to credit Alfari, like I still think Alfari is the best laning top laner at the moment from what I've seen. I think there's a lot more obviously than the lane phase, and I know that he contributes more to the team than that. Just between these other two, I think that's the one area where he really shines through. Like the numbers are there, you can see it in every single game that he plays. And unlike last split, it's not just like he's getting counter picks every single freaking game to like let him win lane. He's still winning lane, like regardless of the matchup.
He's also amazing. I love Barney. I'm just gonna put that out there. So I will try and weave in some chat questions, like in between all the different things. I'll still try and go through all the All-Pros, but it's gonna be hard to like fit in everything. I actually have a question for you, Andre, from the chat. Who's the most dangerous team from Mad Lions, Misfits, or Rogue?
Wow, that's a hard question. That's actually quite a hard question.
I can also ask
I don't know.
someone else
I
if
don't
you
know.
want.
I mean, honestly, I don't know. It's actually hard because I think that maybe Matt, but I think that Rogue would win a best of 5 against both Matt and Misfits. So that's why it's hard, you know.
Wait, so you think Rogue will beat Mad Lions in the best of 5?
Yeah.
What do you
I
base
think
that on?
they would.
I think most people
Uh,
would strongly disagree there, like
yeah,
based
yeah,
on.
no, I know, I know. I mean, they had. I'm basing purely away from this week or this last week, because this last week Rogue just mega sucked, right? Like they got destroyed by SK and Schalke, but I don't know. I'm also basing a bit on scrims probably, and the fact that I just see experience counting way more on playoffs. So I just have this slight feeling that Misfits is for sure the worst team out of the three. I feel like Mad Lions is a team that is more likely to 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 just make an upset to us, Fnatic or G2. And Rogue, I don't think they have a chance to do it against those three teams. But I just feel like Rogue, because of that aspect of experience, and because I feel like their bot lane is a bit better than Mad Lions 1, then I just feel like they would be able to win on a best of 5. Is just that.
What do you
But
think,
then
Drakos?
to answer the question
Okay,
exactly, then Mad Lions would be the most dangerous, right? I just
Yeah.
think that Rogue
cool.
could beat.
I agree that Mad Lion is the most dangerous. I think the thing that people reference a lot is how high variance they are. Sometimes they play really good League of Legends, really aggressive, high tempo. Sometimes they look like they have no idea what they're freaking doing. I don't know what that variance is. Like, I don't know what causes that, if it's confidence on the day, or if actually just some days they play better, some days they play worse. But in regards to, so I agree that they're the scariest, but in regards to like Rogue and Misfits, I think people are overrating Rogue a little bit, or I think maybe I feel like you're overrating Rogue. I shouldn't just say people randomly, because I think Misfits are pretty solid. Like, if you want to say Bevo and Denick are bad or are a weakness, like, I'm with you. Like, that bot lane since Aphelios got nerfed hasn't done anything. He can't play MF, he can play Varus, he can play Aphelios, he can play Xayah, like anything where he either has a get out of jail free card or basically get out of jail free card or enough sustained damage to just be actually OP. But my concern is that I don't think that Rogue's bottom lane is going to push an advantage big enough to take advantage of that. And I also don't think that, like, in terms of raw skill check, I would take Febvin over Larson. I don't think Inspired has been nearly as good in the second half of the split as he was in the first half of the split. Now, that's true for Razork as well, so it just kind of depends on who you side with there. And Finn has also been a little bit underwhelming, which sucks, because I really thought he was really solid at
He's
the
only
end of last
17
year.
though, so he's
He's
young.
only so young. So it's weird. I think the only thing if anyone is like concerned about Mad Lions is that I think Arome is definitely one of their weaker links, and that Humanoid is the quintessential high risk player where he just dies so much. And from what the team has said, he's like, the brilliant shot caller. He's the mind behind everything, and like, great, good for him. But if you die 3 times, like, you can lose your team the game just as quickly as you can shot calling it to victory.
Okay, definitely interesting. Peke, what do you think about the 3 teams?
Oof, I don't think I can give such a detailed answer myself. So it's gonna be tough. I do yeah. I mean, I did think that Rogue had good players, but yeah, they haven't been playing as good as they started. Like, they ran out of steam or something. So I would also probably agree with them that Mad Lions is the team that has the highest chance from the last games I have seen. But yeah, I haven't seen enough to actually give an opinion like that one. So I would just
Okay.
go and say probably Mad Lions.
I mean, I guess that's
Yeah.
the easy choice there. I gotta move on
But
to some other questions as well. I'm sorry,
okay.
Andre.
No,
We
it's
try and get
just
through
a
as
really
much as we
interesting topic,
can.
because then we went to the best of 5 of yeah. But go ahead. I don't interrupt you,
All
man.
right,
You already.
specifically a question coming in actually from Pekka that I got earlier in the day when we were talking about this. For you, what was the highlight of your career?
Oof, the highlight of my career. I mean, I would say I had different ones. Like, obviously, the main one that changed my career the most will be the backdoor, because I think that that's what made me skyrocket and become more famous. Or like, everyone knew me because I was a player, but no one really cared about me that much until that point. And then after that, I think that the spotlight was on me and everyone got to know me. But besides that, that's what changed me the most in my career. But I think uh, season 5 with Origen was probably one of the best time as well during my whole career, because it was like it was like a really beautiful trip with people that we became really close friends. We actually grinded super hard, all of us, to make it to Challenger Series. We did the same to get to LCS. We did the same to go to Worlds. And I think that whole year was pretty much like an adventure. The whole year, from beginning of the 2015 until the end, it was like non-stop. Everyone super motivated, having fun on the way, and it was like they say, it's not about the ending; it's about enjoying the trip. And I think that whole year was just like that. The whole year was enjoyable, regardless of ending up not winning Worlds, but we ended up in semis, which was already more than what we expected. So.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that makes sense. I guess some people would wonder about Season 1 Worlds, seeing as, like, first official World Champion.
Yeah, I mean, that one as well. The thing is, at that moment, that was the biggest one. But then, after some years, another one is the bigger one. But of course, in Season 1, when I won, I felt like that was unbelievable. Even though it was 50,000 euros only compared to the millions that they give now for winning. For me, winning that much money and winning the tournament was like crazy. At that moment, I don't think. Yeah, that moment I wasn't earning any money. I just quit the school in the hope of one day making money. So actually winning that meant that I could have a salary. So I think Season 1 was pretty special and unique, but it wasn't really as big as everything that came later.
I think 2015 was, up until last year, like the best or the best year of European League of Legends that we've ever seen, right? I think it's right behind last year, and it's just because like people will bring up 2018 in the Fnatic finals, but like domestically our league wasn't super hype, right? Like Fnatic just smashed everyone. And the year that you played in this 2015 year, it was so neck and neck, and it was so close, and that final was like the first I feel like absolute banger final we had in so long from a European League of Legends perspective, because there were just so many like either messy or one-sided finals before that was the one that I think will always stand out next to the most recent G2 Fnatic finals.
I remember the years. Well, did you join the broadcast in 2015, Drakos?
No, I was at Worlds of 2015, so I got to experience the joy of Brussels with
right
with many of the players at Worlds. But then no, I joined in 2016.
Oh, they were 16. Okay, so you just missed out, because I remember it was such a weird year. The year started with moving to Berlin. The casting team changed. Joe Miller and D-Man had just left. It was like it was in shambles completely. We were like two casters, Quickshot and myself, and then Pyra came in the middle of the 2015 spring split. And that was the first split where we had Unicorns of Love, who were just playing the wacky League of Legends. Monte Cristo was flaming them every game for doing it all the wrong ways compared to how you're supposed to play. And we had this final against Fnatic where they were 3-2. It ended 3-2. Fnatic went to MSI. They had the solo kills versus Faker and these kind of things. And then obviously 2015 summer with Origen and the epic final in Sweden. Actually, the whole year, when you just look at it, was completely insane. From like just a European fan perspective, but it was also so random. Like it was like we were seen as a joke region for like one split, and then Fnatic went 18-0 in the summer, and people were like, "Oh, it's because everyone else is so bad." And then we had the epic final and two teams in top 4. It was different times. What were you doing in 2015, Guilhoto?
I don't know. I probably just was chilling in the Portuguese league or something, something like that.
You were like in kick or something, right?
Yeah, I was like in kick or something, or kick or for the win or something like that.
So this is before your time, when you were just a fan, I guess.
Yeah.
He was dreaming of joining Origen one day.
I mean, you can say that. Yeah, you can say this motivated you to go big. I guess not.
What? Sorry, you cut. I stopped hearing you.
Okay. It's okay.
No, I legit like you just cut my Discord sometimes.
No, you're fine.
It's fine.
Pikachu.
All right.
No. Okay.
I got another question for you, Andre. I got a question for you.
Discord.
I have a question for you. You have not actually played internationally just yet. So, what are some of the international teams you really want to face?
What are some of the international teams? What
that you really want to play against?
I don't know. Just any Chinese team. To be fair, like I think that Chinese league is just so different. At least that the way that we play. like way more bloody. And even if people try to make a comparison that there are teams in our league that play as bloody as them, they are not. Like we see a ton of times double TP bot level 3 fighting for bot crab because and I just want to see. I'm really curious how we would match into that kind of aggressiveness. I have way more curiosity, at least, towards Chinese teams than Korean teams.
I guess that makes sense. I hope FPX makes it back to Worlds. I mean, I'm expecting them to do, and I think I really want to see if they can do it again. Obviously, slightly different roster or some additions to it, but especially with all the talk about doing B as well from last year, about his play style and so on. I think that's a fascinating story. So that's going to be
Doomby versus Nuke Duck. That's what I want.
Yeah,
The two
I
people
would
who
also,
playing
can,
the
who can
weird-
pick the weirdest thing?
yes,
Just to
I
be a
would- I would
five of
actually-
new picks.
I would actually also love to see Alfari versus the Shy. That would be something as well, I think.
That would also be pretty interesting. I definitely agree.
No junglers involved though.
All right, Drakos, completely separate. So we get around this. How's life been as an online shoutcaster, which is probably the first time in many years you've done that.
I'm debating on which version of this answer to give. It kind of sucks, to be honest. Like, I'm glad that we can keep making a show. Like, I'm really happy about that. I think that's really cool. But you get used to being in the studio and it being like separate from your home environment, and you kind of like amp yourself up, and there's the crowd, and you get like really hyped and fired up. And now I'm like at home by myself, and I like listen to the same hype up music, and I like drink the same kind of coffee that I drink before. But then I get there and I'm like, oh, yep, still in my pajamas. Still in my house. Girlfriend's over there on the couch watching me as I scream into a microphone alone. Because, like, imagine how my neighbors feel, right? All they hear is, like, me popping off at, like, 8 p.m. at night for seemingly no reason. Like,
Shaking the table.
Yeah, so it's weird. It's hard to adjust to. Like, I'm really glad we can do it, but yeah, I think this whole thing is already very bizarre, and it's weird to just live in this time. And then trying to work too, I think is very hard. And I'm sure you guys have your own experiences with that, with the players in the gaming house or in their respective apartments.
I don't know, Martin. You want to answer that?
Well, I think the first week when we had to play from home, that was obviously the one where LEC actually got postponed, where we were like getting ready to play online.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that being super weird, because typically when you are on game day, you have this thing where you go into a shuttle, you drive to the studio. It's a different environment. You sit in your room at the studio waiting to go on stage, and you kind of get forced to be in like a game day zone when you go there to the studio. And that's just so different now because it's literally the exact same place where you practice. It's the place where you basically live at this point. And then at some point you have to sit down and you just have to tell your brain it's no longer a scrim. Now it's the real game. And all there is literally just a referee or something, or Andre coming in saying, okay guys, this time it's for real, focus up. So I think like the first week when we were getting ready for it, it felt super weird. I actually kind of feel like the last 2 weeks it's felt pretty decent. Like I haven't noticed, at least personally, that it was like super strange to play from office. It's obviously not the same, like not being in the studio, not playing in front of fans and so on. It is very different, but I think it's actually working okay.
Yeah, I would agree.
Hopefully Andre does not fully disagree with that.
No, I would agree actually.
Pekka, you're obviously streaming from home, so you're also technically working from home.
Yeah, I mean, for streaming is the same thing, so it doesn't change much.
Do you actually think, Drake, because this is my own question, but we were just talking about casting. I was actually wondering if you think Andre and Pekka could be good casters.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I think Peke has the charisma, and Andre never hesitates to flame people. And if there's anything we've learned from Thorin sticking around as long as he has, it's that people who can flame people in creative ways will always have work in esports. So I think you guys both have a shot.
What?
Have you ever considered being a caster, Pekka?
Briefly, it crossed my mind briefly, but
Really?
yeah, but just like a thought, like maybe, but not at the same time, no, because I don't think I like it that much. You know, I'm not the kind of person like you, like Drakos just said. Andre loves to give his opinion. Andre loves to go to talk shows. Andre likes that, and I don't really like it. I don't really like to go on a show and yeah, just have to flame or praise people. Like sometimes it's fine to comment on someone when you really are impressed by something, but sometimes I will have to say stuff that maybe I don't know what to say, and I don't like that. I don't like to feel like I have to force to create an opinion even though maybe I don't have one, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes you have to be good at that.
Yeah, Mitch would be a great caster.
Mitch would
Like
he's
from the
actually practicing.
I mean, I don't know. Like he actually he did some casting,
I saw the clip, yeah.
but no. But if there was one, not the one that Martin recorded, but the one before was like so good. It was really good actually.
Okay.
I have no idea who this person is, so I have no.
Destiny.
Destiny,
Oh,
sorry.
Destiny. Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
from Australia. They're like
Yeah,
80% of the way in the door when they're
I don't know.
born.
it's true. It's true. They pump
Somehow
out casters.
somehow he just knew every name of the spell, and he was just like, because if I would cast it other way, then I was just and that's will use E or something. Like, you know, I was just I don't know the name of the
Yeah,
spells, but
you'd be
this
the
guy
color
just knew
caster.
everything.
You'd be
Yeah.
like, this is
Yeah,
intro, this is
exactly.
not in.
I
I
can
would
do
never.
that.
Perfect.
To be fair, Andre, if it helps, I casted for many years and I don't know any spells. I literally would just use QWER. But there was also a reason I never tried to go in and play by play. I think I actually had like
Yeah.
maybe half a cast where I tried to play by play, and it was the most pathetic thing
I remember.
ever.
I think it was who was it? It was H2K versus some.
Yeah,
There was another
yeah.
team in our league that was very
Oh
slow, and you
no.
did a double color caster duo
Oh.
cast because I was out sick for the day.
It was the worst thing ever. Literally, like my brain just stopped working when I tried to play by play. It just stopped. I just couldn't do it. I'm just not fast enough when it comes to finding like things to talk about. So I had to give up. But I think Peke actually, while you might not like making up or fake opinions or whatever it is, you have the charm, you have the humor as well to be super super entertaining on a broadcast. Maybe it's just not in a traditional analyst role. Maybe we
Wait.
gotta find like a new role.
Just to set the record straight, you're not just trying to you're not about to fire both these guys, and you're just trying to be like, hey guys, I swear there's another job out there for you. I want you to know there's another opportunity.
He's trying to pitch it here.
No, I'm just saying. Maybe Riot would one day invite one of you guys to be on the broadcast. I don't know, Andre. You've been invited before, and you started flaming Ender, and it was
That was great. That was great.
Yeah, that was
content.
good.
I mean,
interesting.
it's friendly. Like, okay, let's just not start this because, like, I like Ender. You know, like I wouldn't be like this if it's towards someone that I just don't know and I'm there for the first time. I only do this if it's towards someone that I already talked and I already know, and we have some level of I don't know the word, but some level where I feel like it's okay to do it and him to do me back.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think a lot of people got confused initially, but
Yeah.
this is your
That's-
standard way of arguing.
That's how we make good content.
That's
You
true.
can't come out here and tell the world that you don't hate Ender and that Ender doesn't hate you. Because now every time you guys are on a desk, the views are just going to go through the roof. That's how we get the people in.
It's true. It's true. All right, I got a question now, actually, both for Peke and Andre. Sorry, Drakos. I guess you can actually chime in on this at the end.
Sure.
What would be the bottom goal to reach to be happy this year as Origen? What's like
Bottom goal?
the minimum we have to achieve?
Worlds. I think that question is pretty simple. That's the minimum for me.
Well, I mean, for me, I'd just be happy with not suddenly going again and actually performing in summer.
Jesus Christ, man.
You're putting the
Just
bar
like
very
this.
low.
Yeah, you
I mean-
just don't want us. So basically, you just don't want us to be shit on summer.
Yeah, I just don't want to suddenly go and do like a 0-18 Origin style split, you know, and lose everything.
Yeah.
No, I would be happy. I would love to go playoffs, to go Worlds, but I would be happy with going playoffs. And actually, no, actually Worlds. If we go playoffs, I will want us to go Worlds as well. So yeah, that would make me happy going to
All right.
Worlds.
All right, we
I'd
said in
be-
the minimum bad worlds.
I agree. I think that it's really hard to prove yourself in Europe by beating G2 in a best of 5. It's also hard to beat Fnatic, but G2 is obviously the big boss. But I think Worlds is like the other place where you can prove yourself and be like, hey, we're a really good international quality team. So it's for me, it's like obviously I want you to qualify for Worlds, and then I'd actually just be excited to see how far your team could get at Worlds, because it'll be the first time so many of your players have actually been tested internationally, except for the young Destiny. God bless his heart, man. Most
Hey,
Worlds.
yeah. He was at Worlds and MSI.
Ooh, that's a more international experience than anyone else, man. That's what you
mean,
need.
Technically 4 out of 5 players have been to Worlds. Nuke Dog in 2013, so it's a while ago, but it counts. Afari went to Worlds. He had the famous
True.
game versus SKT.
Xerxes had the
went to
spikes.
Worlds.
Yeah.
He went to Worlds, and of course Destiny went to Worlds couple of times as well. Actually, I'm not sure how many times.
just say a couple. He did pretty good. I think
Yeah, he's definitely gone to Worlds.
he won his first split and then immediately left OPO, right? Like he completely won his first split and then dipped, right?
I'm not an expert on OPL history. I gotta
fine.
admit that.
Well, it's fine. We'll call Jake at some point. He can give us the lowdown.
Oh, he would love to join the show and just start yelling about OPL at the moment. Actually, a follow-up question to this: what's the minimum for this year? What was actually the biggest disappointment last year? Was it not making Worlds by losing to Splice, or was it not making playoffs in summer?
Nah. I mean, it feels worse not going to Worlds, but I think that the biggest disappointment was not going to playoffs, because on the Gauntlet we were like we were playing with Sanzara, and we had like, so then the level of disappointment just decreases, you know. But yeah, I think that playoffs, just because of that.
What do you think, Pekka?
Yeah, I mean, not going to playoffs was, I mean, it was really disappointing, because we just needed to beat a couple of teams from the bottom to actually make playoffs, and we ended up losing games that we should have won. And yeah, I mean, the split was way worse for me than the Gauntlet. Like, Gauntlet was actually like a light of hope coming there, more than actually being a disappointment. Because going into the Gauntlet at first, I thought that if we were gonna keep the level, we were actually not gonna be even close to make it. So being close to actually make it through the Gauntlet was like not a disappointment at all.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think so. I mean, I agree with that as like the main disappointment, not making playoffs in summer. I got a couple of other disappointments. We had 2 finals in the LVP. We lost in the last game. Especially the first one still hurts me. Pekka, you were there in person.
Yeah, so close. We had the game won.
Where we actually won the game, and then we TP'd into their base, which allowed Freeze, I believe it was, to actually backdoors and win. We literally had the game won, and then we decided.
No.
Was
it was the other way around. It was the other way around.
Like,
Segenda TP'd back to our base instead of finishing the game.
Instead
of finishing back.
Okay, it was something related to TP.
Yeah.
That one hurt. I think it hurt to lose the final, setting a record as well. But it was so cool to make the final in the first split that obviously it wasn't like that big of a disappointment. But I remember game 3 versus G2 in Rotterdam when we lost in 18 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just sat there and I was just like, what just happened? Like, holy moly. And I heard the cast.
Yeah, but then there was MSI, and TL lost faster, so then it was
That's
fine.
true. That made it better. TL lost faster. Did you cast that final, Drakos?
No, I didn't. I think I don't even remember what I cast for that. I remember being Nocturnal in LA, and that's about like all I remember.
Yeah, but in Rotterdam, you casted the semifinal, right, against Fnatic?
Yeah, I cast you guys versus Fnatic, which was sick. That was an awesome game. That was where you guys busted out the Blitzcrank bars for the first time, I think, right?
Yeah.
As the counter to the Sonatom Kench or whatever. Or Sonataric, yeah. Which was awesome, and that was incredible. And like I remember being like, God damn, Origen are so good. And then like we get into the final and like it's like G2 are like, oh, that's cute. Like, you want to show new picks? Like, we're gonna do a ton of weird shit that no one's ever seen before. Like, but the problem is you guys have probably seen it in scrims, maybe, and you're like,
I don't know. We saw it like once. We saw the funnel. We saw it once, and it didn't work out too well for them. So then we just assumed that they dropped it, but they didn't.
No. That was the worst time to play against G2. Because last year's meta was so good.
Yeah, I think so.
Mid was so broken when Caps was like playing out of his mind, right? Like all those champions were OP, and all because they were so OP, they could be flexed anywhere. Half the champions they played last year got nerfed into the ground. Like the balance team literally gutted half the competitive meta for G2. So
That is true.
And
That
I,
is
I think it was also meta that was really good for creative supports, and Mickey is just like super good on that kind of meta. On any meta, but like specifically on that one, I think that Mickey and Hillisang just can outshine much more than now the other supports. And then Mickey was just like, I don't know, was so good. It still is, but
So now that we're talking about players, I think actually just especially for the VOD, we have to make sure we actually go through all the all-pro teams, and we might have to rapid fire them a little bit instead of going into long debates of Wonder versus Whippo for 1 and 2. Andre did get outvoted 2-1. Peke had them. So we had the top lane one earlier. Basically, Drakos and Peke had Whippo number 1, Wonder number 2, and Drakos had a fire number 3. Obviously, us Origin guys, we cannot have our own players. Andre had Wonder number 1, Whippo number 2. Let's go to jungle. Let's try and rapid fire just a little bit. No super long discussions. Is there anyone in here who does not have Yankees number 1?
nope.
No.
Perfect. Okay, so Yankees is number 1. I think we can lock that. Drakos, who's your 2 and 3?
Self-made and Razork are my 2 and 3.
Oh, you have Razak in there. Actually.
yeah, I have the same actually. I
Okay.
think I voted the same.
Would you, if you had to rate, if I can ask, if you had to rate Xerxes, where would you put Xerxes? Would he have been in top 3 for you guys? Also, I understand if that's a hard question.
No, by far. I think that the difference between Yanko, Selfmade, Xerxes, and the rest is actually quite big, in my opinion.
So, the players, well, it was mainly Cersei who had the jungle vote. He put Shadow number 3 on his list instead of Razor. Might have been based also a little bit on just full split. I think Razor in the first half was like insane.
Yeah.
And carried like a ton of games. Didn't have the same impact obviously in the second half. But I think, Pekka, do you have anything different for 2 and 3 on jungle?
For three, I don't know. For 3, I wouldn't know. For second one, self-made for sure. For third one, it's the same. I really like Razork. Like he's also Spanish, so I would vote for him for sure.
I mean, to be fair, like I know this is not how the things are supposed to go, but I think that the difference between Razork and Shadow are so small that I just like Ivan more, so I just vote for him.
I do think it's very positive that we have a couple of rookie junglers who are actually good. Because I feel like last year there maybe was a bit of a jungle with like the overall quality if you look across all 10 teams. Where I think we've gotten some new aggressive, mechanically very good players, which is positive.
Who was it last year? It was so it was Yankos, obviously, Xerxes, Self-Made, Broxa, and Inspired. Cold and Spring, and those were like your top 5. But after that, it was always a drop off because
yeah, that's true. I just don't think this split is different.
Really? You don't?
Yeah.
Still think there's a big jump, or?
Yeah, I think that there's a big jump. It's just that, for example, Inspired last year was way better than in this split. Then I think that Lurox is still not show his full capacity. I think that Trick was way better last split than he was this split. So I think that basically it's just like it's jungle role is always something so hard to rate because you're so dependent on how you fit on your team that we can see players like Trick where in summer you could have said that he was a top 3, top 4 jungler, but now he's a top 9, top 10 jungler. Inspired was also top 3 jungler. He had like an insane series on playoffs, and now you can say that he's a bottom 5 jungler. Like it's so hard. That's why I feel like that gap will always happen because that gap is felt more by the fact that there is a gap on the teams itself more than the individual quality of the junglers.
Fair enough. So, because I said we had to rapid fire them a little bit. And then I'm the one starting a longer conversation. Mid lane. I'm just going to ask the question again. Did anyone not put Perks as number 1?
I put Perks.
Yep.
Yeah.
2-3 then. Is there any debate here? Andre, who do you have?
It's really hard. It's actually really hard. I've put Humanoid second, Nemesis third.
I put Nemesis Febivin.
Yeah, I would say Nemesis, and for
Do
third
you
one,
have
I don't
anything
know.
against our team, Drakos? Just like
Like
honest
I think
question, you know?
I think so. I think the only one where you can fight me on is like Alfari, because I think that Nuke Duck does a lot for your team, but he's not flashy. Like you don't go like I'm gonna make an all-star game with Nuke Duck. You want to like win. You want consistency. You need a rock for your team. I'm like hell yeah, Nuke Duck.
So,
That's
so
how I
in
feel.
your okay, no, I just wanted to understand like why do you think that a player like Febivin is better than Nuktak? But yeah, I can.
I mean, I
see
think
that.
in that streak, right? Like, there's when Misfits are doing well and when they're winning, there's two players you look at, right? It's Razork, it's Febivin. Now, I don't know who's entirely in charge of that relationship and who's doing communicating and who's making decisions, right? Maybe Razork is just giga big brain and like
Wow.
Febivin's just doing nothing. But Febivin, anytime he's got on a champion that like is very proactive, any kind of assassin that can carry a game, he carries a game, and I like that.
I disagree. I think that Misfits had an advantage, and Mad Lions too, early on, that their support and jungler played 1 year together before joining the team, which means that in the beginning they can focus way more on that kind of synergy that you're talking, and that's why in the case of Mad Lions they kind of kept steady. But that's why, for example, a team like Misfits started really high because they had that synergy going already, and then they seemed like they played the exact same week 9 as week 1. There's no change. And there was also, and once teams managed to catch up on that mid jungle synergy, then the mid jungle from Misfits just seems way worse. So yeah, I don't know. I can see the nemesis there. Putting Febivin above Nuktak seems quite yeah, but obviously I'm biased, so yeah, I'll not say.
That's why we have Drake.
I'm obviously biased.
But wait, but like
that's
I'm
just my
always
opinion
happy.
from
I'm
outside.
always happy to hear your argument for Nuke Duck. It's not like you have to just like choke back your argument because you're like, oh, I'm OG.
Yeah.
People are just gonna call it bias. Like,
Yeah, I don't know,
why
I
should Nuke
just
Duck
am
be
biased.
top 3 then? Like, what does Nuke Duck do that like puts him above Febivin or anyone else for that matter?
It's just plays better. Like honestly, comparing to Febivin, I just explained this to you. I think that once the teams managed to work on that aspect between mid jungle, that Misfits was able to work earlier on, because one of the most important synergies that you have is the jungle support, and Misfits had it already. Once teams were able to catch up, their jungle mid just seemed quite underwhelming. And
have you guys caught up yet? Do you feel like your jungle support mid relationships? Do you guys feel like you've caught up? Because I don't feel like I've seen that.
Compared to Misfits, I think we surpassed them already. Not even caught up. To Misfits?
To Mad is the other team that you use as an
Yeah,
example?
we're talking Misfits. Mad is a different case. Mad, the thing is that Mad didn't like slow down, you know? Like that's for me the main thing about the 5th and 6th team is that I feel like both Rogue and Misfits just did not change from week 1 to week 9. And Matt did. That's why I give more credit to Matt. That's all.
Yeah. I mean,
No,
I think that's fair
I
enough.
But we are talking argument for Bivan Nuktak. No, let's not.
No, but
I put Humanoid second. Just
Hold on a second. I agree with you a bit. As a mid laner, it's really important the jungle support synergy. It impacts your lane a lot, because sometimes when they play a good duo together, they are able to ward for you. They are able to know where they want to go, and that helps you a lot as a mid laner. Like when your support and your jungler are talking about, oh, we want to go to this jungle, we want to go here. They wait for each other. It's much better than when they are lost and the support goes to his lane and the jungler goes to the jungle, and then you just have to decide what to do. It becomes a lot harder than if they are the ones making the plans, and then you just going with your information and what you know.
So
yeah.
definitely some debates, I guess, around the mid lane, which is good. Again, this is why we have you here, Drakos. So we have some debate.
so far top three team, and on the first 3 roles, Origen has 0 top 3 players. It's fine. Right?
You had Alfari. Get off my back.
Oh wait, you said Alfari? Okay,
Yeah, he
okay.
did say
I said Alfari.
Okay. Surely in the next one, Drakos, in the next one, the 80 carry role. Again, remember everyone, we cannot vote for our own players, but Drakos can if he wants to. So, Drakos, who's your top 3 80 carries?
All right. I was just gonna troll you and try to make 3 up on the spot, just to have fun. So my number 1 is Reckless. My number 2 is Upset. And my number 3 is Caps.
Oh, you have caps in there.
Yeah,
I
think-
have Caps as well as number 2, I think.
So Caps is really Caps is highly debatable depending on how you feel about him, but I think that like while his actual AD carry gameplay, if that's what we want to call Aphelios, is super suspect. His Senna was solid, and obviously his Talia whatever bottom bullshit is like unstoppable. They're killing people at level 3. That champion doesn't even lane. It's just like they instantly end the game at the second Pantheon dives. Yeah, I just think like Caps is one of the better performing. I think that the only other people that I would consider putting on that list is probably Carzy.
Yeah.
But even that feels like a stretch because some of those games Carzy's popping off, but is also some of those games he's doing nothing and he's just dying and getting caught out a lot. So I actually think outside of the top 3, or actually outside of the top 2, even like Reckless Upset, I think there's a bit of a gap for Caps depending on how you feel about what he does. And then after that, there's a pretty steep drop off.
I can agree. I mean, I've put Reckless Caps and third Carzy, obviously, because I can't vote for Upset. And it's not about like this MVP votes on this kind of cases like Caps are always hard because I don't think Caps is necessarily a better AD carry than, for example, Carzy, but he did perform better during the split. And obviously, the fact that he has a better team helped him a lot. But if I look with the eyes of who performed better, he's whoever I'm going to put, then I put Caps. Also, for me as a coach, it's way harder to draft G2 because of Caps. One of the reasons that it's harder to draft against them is because of Caps. So I didn't put Caps above Carzy because I think it's like individual quality in that role. Caps has more individual quality than Carzy, but he performed better and he's a bigger pain in for me to draft against.
Yeah, it's like if you want to talk about purely like traditional AD carry, like there's
then I'm never putting Caps.
Yeah, then you're gonna talk about Carzy, right? But when you just talk about who's a better player, like Caps, he's still probably the best mid laner in our league. Like I have no or second.
I mean,
right?
it's possible actually.
Yeah,
I,
you know
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. But
I mean, so we have actually a role swapping expert in the call here.
Yeah.
Peke, what is your AD carry eye spy
I'm
among the players?
more of a pioneer, not really an expert. It didn't work out so well for me. But I honestly think I agree with Caps being super talented, but I do think that a bit of his talent is being wasted sometimes on the bot lane.
Yeah.
Because I think in the mid lane, Perks was able to do a much better job on the bot lane, I think. And Caps on mid lane is just a beast. So I think it's just some games are good, some games are crazy from Caps on the bot lane, but it's like hit or miss. Then you have those games that he feel like just a normal player doing nothing, and just because they have the better team, he's able to win. But I think if he was on a worse team, as an AD carry, he would probably not do much. While as a mid laner, he could maybe carry some bad teams.
How hard is it to role swap from mid to AD carry?
I mean,
Is it like a different world?
if you have a crazy good support like Mickey, probably it's easier. But if your support is not good, I think it's gonna be really, really hard. Because you have to play completely different from mid lane. Mid lane, it's 1v1, so you don't have to worry about anything else but your 1v1 and maybe the jungle ganks, and then roaming. As an AD carry, your job is way different. You don't go ganking lanes. You are more like you have to know when to push, where you have to go after bases. It's a lot different. But I think having the good thing is that they have a team that everyone knows what to do in that team, so he can probably learn it he learned it way faster. But again, I think it's a weird change. Like I would love to see him on the mid lane more than on the AD carry.
They can just have 2 mid laners. Why not?
They could just keep swapping. I mean,
Yeah.
That's what I mean. To be fair, that's what they said at the start of the split. Is like, hey, we're ready to swap around. We can give us more variants. You know,
I want
if we
2
want
at the
to
same
do it.
time. Mickey can 1v2 bot. He can just play some wave clear stuff.
wait, didn't they do that with Jankos bot or something?
I mean,
Oh,
they might
man.
have done something
Yeah,
like that
one-
already.
Ja-
Was
Ja-
it-
wasn't it
did it.
Jankos
Yeah,
Morgana?
that was the
Yeah,
yeah,
the
that was
finals
the funnel.
against us.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was the
one.
funnel.
But guys, anyway, Carzy Caps is a really interesting topic, something that you can see tomorrow at twitch.tv/LEC on the first
Great.
Ooh, there you go.
playoff game.
If
I
you
like
could
that
pick
promo.
Andre, if you could
See?
pick right now between having Caps as your AD carry, Cos as your AD carry, who would you take?
If I could pick right now,
Yeah.
I don't know. If I'm G2, I'm always picking Caps as my AD carry.
If you're not G2.
Like
If I'm not,
You have to pick
if
one
I'm,
of the two.
if I'm not G2, it like really depends. Like, will that flexibility help me? Yes, I pick Caps. No, I pick Carzy. It's just
Okay.
really simple.
I think you always pick Caps. Like just knowing how the guy interacts.
I mean, to be
and
fair,
how he
I'm picking Caps and then sending him to mid somehow.
yeah. I mean, for sure. Like, but even if you can't do that, the thing is like, and I admittedly know very little about how Carzzy works behind the scene. I know a lot more about Caps because a lot of people have told me how good he is to work with. But he just seems like the kind of guy that will make a team better, and he's not going to be the guy that ever drags down a team environment. So, Pat, even if he's like
Carzzy, to be fair, I don't know. Carzzy gives me
I
that
don't
vibe.
know. I don't know for Car. I give that vibe too, but I don't know for Carzzy. But I'm pretty damn sure for Caps because I've heard it across former teammates, current teammates. Everyone has always talked about Caps as just like this endless font of joy, you know. And he's always pushing himself. He's always passionate about the game.
And
he's
you get
always
his
excited.
dad too, which is
and you get his dad,
important.
which is
that's actually
bonus points.
That is massive bonus, by the way, for your fan base. Okay, so we got to get to support. We only got a couple of minutes left. We only wanted to do an hour. We can't keep Drakos here any longer. He will actually disconnect at 10. That's it.
Okay.
He refuses to stay. Support top 3, Drakos. I actually think there's a lot of debate here, but I'm interested in hearing yours.
So I have Hillsang first, Mickey second, and Kaiser is number 3.
So I think a lot of people have those 3, but the order might be very different.
Yeah, for me it's Mickey first, probably.
I love what Hillsang does. I think it's a very similar story to Bwipo for me this season, where I think the good parts of Hillsang have shown through more and more, and the bad parts have shown through less. And I think that while Mickey has had some pretty solid performances, given the fact that he's with a new bot lane partner this split, I think he's also had a lot of games that were pretty meh and like underwhelming. Mickey, yes, I think Mickey's had some underwhelming games, especially start of season. You don't think Mickey had some mediocre games start of season?
Okay, but don't you think Hillsang had some mediocre, close to end games throughout the whole season?
Yeah, but I also watched like the last 3 games of Fnatic where he like single-handedly on set support on Rakan just like absolutely blitzed and carried games.
It's a Hillsang classic.
Yeah, okay, no, it's fine. Yeah, I just wanted to know if you vote your MVPs for the last 3 games, except obviously on the Forgiven case. But instead of the whole split.
Man, Andre, you're fighting every caster you can get near. You're just looking for that fight.
No, I'm kidding.
Here's my opinion kind of on the Mickey versus Hillsang debate is I think that there's I feel like Mickey has a lower floor but a higher floor, right? So he's never gonna, like, when Hillsang runs it down, Hillsang runs it down. Nobody runs it down like Hillsang, right? but Mickey's like truly great pop-off moments are not nearly as frequent as Hillsang's. Now I don't know if that's just like Hillsang just flips more coins, so he's just gonna get more heads. But especially this split, it felt like we just got more carry performances out of Hillsang.
Yeah, I think that's agreeable. I've put Mickey first, and it was probably I didn't have many doubts in terms of that, just because I do give a lot of credit for Mickey from the cap situation.
I mean, I think it's always gonna. Those are the 2 at the top, and after that, it's like the gap, and then there's anybody else, and it's always they can on any given day swap back and forth.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna have to move us on to get the last 2 in because they're the 2 important ones. We're not doing coach of the split here. We all know Andre's gonna. He's a.
No, I think I don't know. Like for me, just a quick opinion on that. I always vote coach of the split by like the order that the team's placed. So I just, because like it's nearly impossible to know what a coach does inside of a team. Because
Also,
you don't have anything visible, so I just vote that way. I just voted Grabs first, Mithy second, Mac third.
A lot of teams
just
also have
purely that reason.
Bigger coaching staffs now, so it's like you're technically voting. You're kind of voting for a full coaching staff and not just like for one person anymore. Because like in the past, you had like one coach, or you had no coaches, or you had one guy who pretended to be a coach who wasn't a coach.
Yeah, that's my thing, right? Yeah. So
now it's very different.
We can I would say we can avoid coach and just talk about MVP and rookie if you want, because I'm in the same opinion. I voted Mac number 1 for context just because I thought that team with so many rookies did so well, but I have no idea if Mac
did you vote Andre anywhere?
I just put Grabs and Mithy because they're just the 2 best teams.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what makes sense, you know. Like I could see an argument for Mac, but it's like I think that Mad Lions 4th is way more Rogue underperforming than Mad Lions overperforming. So yeah.
Yeah, I will never fight for my coach of the split vote unless I have like gone to every single team's scrims and seen their VOD reviews, and then like. But
Sure,
until
sure.
then, it's kind of just like a vote with your gut. I don't really.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't read much into it, honestly.
Look, Drakos, I won it 2 times, and I think it's an irrelevant award.
I like it.
Means nothing.
I think it's
Yeah.
a fun reward. I think it's a fun reward. But yes, it's very hard to judge it properly, of course. So, rookie of the split. I think there's a couple of names. I think technically there's 4 names. Everyone will be debating in between. So there's Shadow, of course. There is Razog. There is Karsi, and then there's
Karsi.
Kaiser. I think those are the 4.
I think you can. I think you could throw like Shadow in there. I think it did
He was the first one,
a
but
good
yeah.
split. Oh, you said it? Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't
first
hear
one.
it. I didn't hear it. You cut.
It's
you
fine.
cut,
It's
you
fine.
cut.
It's fine. Yeah. I just keep cutting
Okay,
out.
so
for
those
you.
4 names.
I mean, I agree. So Shadow was 4th for me. So I had Karzi,
Yeah.
Razork, or Razor K, or whatever, however the hell you say his name, and then Kaiser. Yeah, I just thought like once again, like I thought Kaiser really came into his own in the second half of the split. He was solid in the first half. Razork had an insane first half, not so good of a second half. And I thought Karzi was maybe you could argue inconsistent over the entire split, but when Karzi popped off, he looked like he looked like he'd been playing on a stage his entire life. And when I think back to the other like expected prodigy AD carries, I feel like they always struggle at the start. So that really stuck with me. I thought that was really impressive.
What do you think, Pekka, for rookie?
I would say Rathork first for sure. I mean, for me that award, I mean, is more about being the most impressive, and I think Rathork was the most impressive, even though towards the end maybe not as much, but it was really. It was really refreshing to see his gameplay in the beginning of the split. Like every game, he would just do the right thing. He will get fed. He will get his team ahead, and I really like that. Then for second one, I would say Karsi as well, and for third one, I wouldn't know which one to vote for third one either.
I also think Razor was actually a big surprise because
Yeah.
I felt like in the summer split for Giants last year, he actually didn't look that impressive. And he had a lot of like, I think he had a lot of inconsistencies.
Yeah, when I watched him play for Giants, it looked like he was doing the same over and over, and he worked out because he was playing against worse teams. Because every game I watched, I was like, he does the same exact movement every game, puts the same ward, does the same strategy, camps the same lane, and it's working out because he's playing against bad teams. But then he actually played like real good when he came to the LEC, so that's why I will say he's first.
Yeah.
I think
I've put Razork first. I will not defend Razork above Karsi. I think that those two are like just there. I've put Razork first instead of Karsi. I don't know. I just like Razork more. And then Kaiser third. I think Kaiser is also did like a really good split. It's actually hard in these cases where both rookies from Mad Bot Lane did so well to who to put first, but I guess undoubtedly just through the eyes, Karsi's DD carry, so he will probably be ahead of Kaiser most of the votes. It's just how it is, you know.
Okay. I mean, I think Kaiser was really good as well. So I actually don't know who's gonna win. I think MVP is pretty much locked in my mind, but I think rookie is actually allowed to predict who of the 3, I guess it is, Razog or Razog, Kaiser, and Karsi. Because I can see a lot of people vote for Kaiser, and the Origen players actually all pick Kaiser as the number 1 choice for rookie. So I find that also pretty interesting to see if a lot of other teams did the same. But I guess we gotta finish with the big one, and it is coach of the split. Sorry, MVP of the split. MVP of the split. I'm just gonna put this out there, and then you guys can tell me if I'm completely wrong. But did anyone not put Jankos as number 1?
I didn't put Jankos. I put Perks.
I also put Perks.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, damn! I'm actually surprised, Andre. I thought I was edgy for having that opinion.
I had Jankos myself.
I also put Jankos personally.
So I didn't put Jankos in my top 3, and for context, that's because I believe that if 2 players from the same team are the most valuable player, then neither of them is the most valuable player. So like I'm not going to put my top 3 is like the most valuable player from it can't be 2 players from the same fucking team, Andre. Don't look at me like that. It doesn't
My
make any
top,
sense.
my top 3 were all from the same team.
What the hell? You put 3
Yes.
G2 players?
Yeah.
Each one of them is more valuable than, I don't know, Bwipo was to Fnatic. Each one of them
then
is more
Bwipo was
valuable
to
to
the
the team.
league. No, I don't vote most valuable player
Oh,
to a
you
team.
vote-
I
you vote-
vote
you-
most
you vote- you vote-
valuable player to a league.
So I vote the most valuable player, like as in they made the biggest difference on their team, not as in just who are the 3 best players in our league.
There's always a problem about that vote. They need to change it. They need
Yeah.
to change it to like either it is most impactful player, or it's like just the best player.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because like most impactful player was like Inex, who made a team who lost every single game actually win like 6
True.
games at the
That's
end.
true.
Like
That's up there.
you cannot ask for more impact than that.
True. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I just have the basketball point of view, NBA shit, and it's like the best performing player in the league gets the MVP vote. So my reading is just that. But obviously, I understand you thinking that is like a most valuable player to a team, and I also think that makes a lot of sense. That's why like it pisses me off so much sometimes when people see who voted on what and they just flame, but they just don't understand that when you personally vote for something like this, you can just have so many different criteria. For example, I put Perks above Jankos because I think that Perks does more for that team, even outside of in-game stuff, than Jankos does. So I don't know.
Okay, so your top 3 is Perks, Jankos, and who?
Mickey.
And Mickey. So you get the 3 G2 guys. Drakos, you had who's your top 3?
I did Perks, Bwipo, Febvin, which Andre's gonna just instantly pop off at me about.
Okay.
I attribute Misfits' success this season to Febvin. In the same way you attribute the Schalke success to NX, I attribute it to Febvin. I think that
I mean,
team
I
without
don't
Febvin is
say it's Inex. I'm just saying like the
yeah,
things
that was
that
the-
No,
happened.
that was the thing,
I
right?
agree with you. I agree with you. The success I attribute not only to Fevin but also to what I said about the jungle support played 1 year together.
And what do you have packages to wrap it up?
Yeah, Jankos, Self-Made, and Mickey.
Okay, so we got self-made in there. The Origin boys actually ended up voting for Jankos as number 1. They all agreed on that one. Then Perks number 2. They also all agreed on that one. And then there actually was a debate for number 3 between Whippo and Reckless. As number 3. They couldn't decide. It was 2 for 2, and one person voted for something completely different. So I think I ended up being the
Who was
tiebreaker.
the completely different?
I don't actually remember who it was. It was just not one of those 2.
I mean, it had to be Xerxes.
I don't know who he put.
What it was. Here's my question to you, OG friends. Who would you put? Who is the most valuable player if you had to pick one from your team? And if you don't want to answer that because it's going to make people on your team sad, I understand. But that was my problem because I looked at all the top 6 teams, right? And I was like, okay, who's the most valuable player for each of these teams, one at a time? And I couldn't think of one for your team. I was like, I don't know who is actually your most valuable player. It was Alfari by default for always winning lane, but like,
I think that if you only watch win in game, throughout the whole split, I think that Alfari makes sense because he was the best performing top laner this split, and the best performing player from our team most likely. If you take everything in consideration, I would actually give it to Nuktak.
I'll let the coach speak.
all right.
If you have the inside info that I have, more on that sense, you know.
Right. So we actually do have to wrap this up because I promised everyone it would only be an hour, and we have to make a VOD out of this as well. So I do want to say thank you. I'm not going to give any last words to Andre versus Drakos because then we'll be here for another 30 minutes of them just like fighting over Fepiven and so on.
No, I love it.
No, I mean just like I don't think Febiven is a bad player. Like I just think Nuktak is better. That's all.
Andre, you're acting like you've been traumatized by people hopping into your DMs and flaming you over this
I mean,
stuff.
but you know that it always happens. It's just that this constant thing of like people don't know how to distinguish the fact that better and worse doesn't mean good and bad.
That's how it is in these discussions.
It's really annoying. And then if I say that someone is worse, and if I say that someone is like underrated or overrated, then it just means that I'm just like flaming that guy. I'm just saying that guy is just bad and always messes up, and that's not the case. So I just need to always leave that clear.
That's how it is. If you don't put someone in top 3, you're automatically saying they're bad. That's just how it works.
True.
We all know it, and people do not want to hear context. They just want to see the top 3, then they want to react. That's the classic. That's what gives the clicks. But thank you to everyone who tuned in to watch. Thank you for all the questions, either before or during the stream. Thank you to our guests as well, Andre, Peke, and Drakos, our special guest. We might invite you again because we do need that non-Origin voice in here to create some debates. If it's just me and Andre
Anytime,
arguing,
anytime.
it gets kind of weird. So I'm just gonna turn off the stream